This is Conservative to America. I'm your host, Cole Holcomb, giving you news commentary from the best perspective, the conservative perspective. Today we're going to start off with this clip of James Carville, District of Columbia and Puerto Rico becoming a state. We'll discuss that in tomorrow's episode, this part of it. It's going to be a clip. We're going to do a 2-day thing on it. But today we're going to talk about the packing the court part and the holes and problems in that.
They are just going to have to unilaterally add Puerto Rico and the District of Columbia states. They're going to have to, the Congress does give, the Constitution gives Congress power over federal elections. I don't think they can redistrict, but they're things they're going to do. They're going to have to do it. They're just going to have to do it. And they may have to expand the court to 13 members.
So, War Room, which is the show that James Carville hosts, on November the 6th, Carville said that a Democrat would win number one in 2028. That's not included in this video, but he did include that in this not in this exact clip, but it was included in the podcast itself. But he said that a Democrat would win in 2028, and when that happens, they will take both branches they will take both the House and Senate, both houses of Congress. They'll take both branches of the elected positions, he said. So the executive branch and the legislative branch. And then they'll make an aim to take the judicial branch. Well, how do you do that? Well, of course, you can't go around just like, just like getting rid of the judges. The president doesn't have the right to fire them. But technically, James Carville can make the argument that you can have, it was never specified how many justices there are supposed to be on the court. 9, 7, 5, 3, 13, 25, 100. It was never necessarily specified. So, in that, James Carville, he said that on the court, how would they stack it? Well, of course, Republicans would never agree, and Democrats aren't likely to get a 60-vote majority. Next time they win the Senate, it'll probably be by 1 or 2 votes. It's impossible for Democrats to get any more than that, unless, of course, you add Puerto Rico and Hawaii. But first, you have to do this one thing in order to do any of that. You have to do what Republicans have refused to do for years. What Democrats have tried, but they failed last time because Sinema and Manchin were in Congress and stopped them from doing it. Luckily, Fetterman's there. He would probably stop them from getting rid of the filibuster today, and hopefully maybe a few other Democrats. But they would try to pack the court with 13 justices. But you do that by eliminating the filibuster. And whenever they get back in power, they will eliminate the filibuster. Trust me, they will eliminate the filibuster. Whenever they, if, I'm not going to say, we don't know that they ever will get back in power. However, though, shows that that's likely. Anyways, if they get back in power, they will eliminate the filibuster and they will pack the court. But here is also a reminder: James Carville is a Democrat operative. He is not the president. He is not the chairman of the party. He is solely just some guy who works for the Democrat Party and well, I guess not even works to be the right term, but he goes out and he talks to people. He's a spokesperson per se for the Democratic Party. So what he says, we should not take his word as gospel, as the Bible, as truth. Okay, not everything that comes out of his mouth is exactly what the Democrats believe or what the party's going to take a stance on, or the main things that the Democrats are going to take a stance on. Anyways, he's like me, except he has. Anyways, so James Carville, it's interesting that he would say that. But if Democrats get in power, according to him, they will eliminate the filibuster. The day the Democrats pack the courts, I would like to ever see that. To make Hawaii and DC. But Uh, the day the Democrats pack the courts will be, gentlemen, there's no other way to talk about it. It will be the end of America as we know it. That day, it will be the end of freedom. It will be the end of the American way of life. It will be the end of our liberty. It will be the end of of the way that we've known America. It will be the end of the America that the founding fathers created. It will be the end of the America that your grandfathers fought to defend. It will be the end of the America that you know and you love. It will be the beginning of an authoritarian regime. Trust me, whenever that day comes, that'll be the day that socialism, that communism, that Marxism will have officially made its way to America. And what do we know about the Democrat Party? Well, their leader now is Comrade Mamdani and Comrade Ocasio-Cortez. That's where the party's headed. Pretty soon, that's who they're going to be nominating on the national level. I hope that the American people are smart enough not to elect people like that, which I believe that they are currently. And I hope that continues, that the American people are smart enough to know we don't elect communists to positions so high. And that whenever communism gets in power, that it ruins countries. But trust me, if they get in power, they will get rid of it. And the day that they get rid of the filibuster, the day that they pack the court, that will be the end of the American way of life as we know it. The authoritarian regime will have taken place. The authoritarian regime will have taken place. Dark days are ahead if James Carville is correct. If James Carville is correct, dark days are definitely ahead. We will continue to follow this story as we get closer and closer to Election Day 2028. Now, let's move on to a story on SNAP benefits. Before going live on the show today, November the 17th, the Agricultural Secretary, Secretary Rollins, announced that they would announce big things on SNAP benefits. President Trump is requiring all those who were previously on SNAP benefits prior to the government shutdown to reapply so the government can cut back on fraud. Secretary Rollins said even that limited data has already revealed a significant misuse, with 186,000 deceased individuals receiving benefits and 500,000 people receiving SNAP benefits in more than one state. There are people committing fraud. SNAP benefits, what are they? The food stamps. But anyways, great fraud on this part, and they're trying to combat it. Data, and they're going to make people reapply. They're going to make people re-sign up for them due to the end of this government shutdown. Data from the Department of Agriculture indicates that more than 226,000 fraudulent benefit claims and more than 691,000 fraudulent transactions received approval. Fraudulent transactions refers to purchases that SNAP households did not authorize, often caused by skimming, card cloning, or other forms of electronic theft. The stolen benefits cost the government more than $102 million in the first quarter of the fiscal year. Think about that, people. Maybe you say, "Oh, well, that's not that big of a deal. They stole your tax dollars." I bet you, I don't know. Maybe there's some billionaire watching me today. Highly unlikely. But the likelihood is that they stole your tax dollars. They stole your tax dollars. If you pay less than $102 million, even if you pay over that, there's your taxes went to. Think about that. If that's what your taxes went to people who steal, stealers, robbers, thieves. So are you what your tax dollars going to? Thieves? No, there's no excuse for fraud at this level, for fraud over SNAP benefits. But the stolen benefits cost the government more than $102 million in the first quarter of the fiscal year 2025. In the first quarter. The first quarter. We're not talking about the whole year. Just one quarter. Okay? That's up from $69.4 million in the previous quarter and $31.9 million during the same period a year earlier. It's getting worse and worse. Okay? Anyone who says, "Oh, maybe Trump should have rethought this idea," no. This was the best idea ever. It was going to continue to get terrible. Pretty soon we were going to be seeing quarters where it was going to be $1 billion in stolen benefits. Okay? Because there are terrible people in this country. I'm sorry
are some really messed up people in our world. There are some really messed up people in our country. There's a lot of hardworking Americans, but there's like the small percentage of people who they steal and they rob and they're criminals and they ruin everything else for the rest. For the rest of us, they ruin everything else for everybody else. They ruin it for all these other people. There are people who have been on SNAP benefits for years, and they now got to go down and reapply. It's not a terrible inconvenience, but at the same time, it's an inconvenience. I think that it's good that they're making about 700,000, not approved, removed about 700,000.
Okay.
That's a time for a clap. If you guys know here on the show, I clap a lot for things, big things I like. That's a time for me to give a round of applause, okay? To remove 700,000 people. I'm not clapping because these were not people who deserve SNAP benefits. These were people who were frauds, who were fakers, who were phonies, who were criminals. Locked up 118 people for defrauding the United States government, for wasting your tax dollars, for wasting my tax dollars. If you go out and you pay sales tax, there's a good chance maybe that was your money that he went out and did. Or if you have or you pay your income tax or whatever type of tax you pay, it could have been your money that they stole. But I give a round of applause to President Trump's administration for arresting those 118 people and getting rid of those 700,000 people off of SNAP benefits who have defrauded our nation. The USDA says that about 4
or 1 in 8 people rely on SNAP benefits each month. Last year, SNAP cost the federal government
$99.8 billion, almost $100 billion. Okay, that's not a huge problem. If we needed to give SNAP benefits to that many people, and it was actually $100 billion
this year, SNAP cost the federal government $99.8 billion. Think about the money that went to the wrong people. It is a wonderful program. I will say that. It's a wonderful program for those who need it. But it is only for those who need it. It is just that, for those who need it. It's time that we clean up these federal programs and keep those who abuse the system from abusing the system. We will continue to follow this story as it progresses. Thank you. Now it's time to talk about the beef industry in America. According to the CEO of Oklahoma in the grocery store, this will likely help the American rancher by skyrocketing the price of cattle. If he's right. Nate Rempe, CEO of Oklahoma Steaks, says the problem is that the American cattle herd is at its lowest population in 70 years. And demand is at the highest it's ever been. In efforts to rebuild the American cattle herd, you face the problem of heifer retention. Because it's at the lowest it's ever been, we needed to say, well, okay, well, how do we rebuild it? Well, whenever you rebuild it, you have to save heifers. You have to breed more. You can't send as many off to the slaughterhouse. Well, in efforts to rebuild the American cattle herd, you face the problem of heifer retention. That's holding heifers back to be bred, not sending them to the stockyard, not sending them to the feedlot. But you face the problem of heifer retention, which then in turn causes beef prices to skyrocket due to a reduced amount of feeder cows, due to the fact that you're only now going to have a small portion of heifers and a bunch of steers, but still, though, that's not the regular amount that we have, so it'll be a reduced amount of cattle going in to be butchered, which then, of course, will skyrocket the price. So if we want to rebuild the herd, well, then the price is going to have to go up for a while. But the Trump administration, U.S. Agricultural Secretary Brooke Rollins, pushed back on predictions that Americans could soon pay $10 per pound for beef, telling Fox Business the Trump administration's plan to expand grazing lands and reopen key cattle ports is expected to bring prices down by next summer and keep them lower through 2026. And then looking at it, though, right now, to decide on which side I'm going to take, the CEO of Oklahoma or the Trump administration. Looking at it right now, I don't believe that the price of beef is going to drop. I think it's going to go up. The CEO of Oklahoma Steak said that if it's going to drop, it's going to drop in 2027. But I don't expect it to drop. However, that could change. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. It all comes down to how the Trump administration handles it. Also, the question becomes, is it tariffs that's causing our cattle population, our cattle price to be so high? Or is it a dwindling cattle population? I lean towards more the dwindling cattle population. I think that we need to rebuild the American herd. I think, of course, the tariffs are hurting it. They're not helping it by any means, but I don't think that's what's causing it. I think that the herd needs to be rebuilt, and that'll take about a year to 2 years in order for us to see a turnaround. But we will continue to follow this story here on Conservative to America. So, I close out with these questions. Will the Democrats win in 2028, like James Carville predicts? If they win, will they pack the court, like James Carville claims? Like I said, like James Carville claims. Will James Carville's statement prove true? Will SNAP finally quit being abused, and will beef prices finally go down? Only time will tell, but I continue to bring you news commentary from the best perspective, the conservative perspective. I am Cole Holcomb, and this is Conservative to America.